Boom! Hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out. Boom! What's up, guys? Byron Rodgers here for another episode of Executive Protection Lifestyle. I'm here with Rachel Rugato.
Hello.
Boom! Thanks for coming on my show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's an honor. It's been a long time coming. Rachel and I were on a detail. We worked together off and on a few years ago, did some time at the range, hung out, did some cool guy stuff, cool girl stuff, and all that fun stuff. But so obviously I started getting messages by other agents that are like, hey, dude, when are you going to have a chick on the show? I'm working on it,
a little hard to find.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true. And so, finally it all worked out, and I've done a few interviews with a few lady protectors that are going to be coming out. So I'm looking forward to this conversation and everything else. So
Yay.
Welcome. Heck yeah. And I also, when I went to the Close Protection Conference, I saw there were a number of females there. There were a lot of females there that were kind of asking me about that. So I don't know. I'm just glad to be able to have the platform to bring information to this game.
I am too. I wish that I had a chance to talk to more females about it, but I realized that on a lot of my social media, a lot of it stays pretty hush-hush. So I know there's only a few people that really kind of know what I do on a 9 to 5. So my biggest push right now is trying to take more of a step into that and just no, this is really what I do. Let's talk about it. Let's understand that there's a new level that needs to be brought to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. When you say new level, how do you mean that?
What I mean is mostly in the style of EP that's done. And
that's interesting.
It really just kind of taking advantage of, who you are, what you look like. And I don't want to, it's kind of like playing into the stereotype a little bit. When you buzz through security, when you're doing a lot of security testing, probing, things of that nature. I've always said to every female that I've ever met and to every, company I've ever talked to when it comes to, testing the limits of their security, you can get anywhere with the right color blazer and the right amount of confidence.
Yeah,
you can absolutely get anywhere. If you just go in and you check and see what kind of jackets that these people are wearing, and you look the part and just pull your shoulders back, you can blaze through just about anybody's security. And the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody says, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?" And how easy is it to go, "Oh my God, I'm just so lost. I'm here for an interview. I have no idea what's going on. I was supposed to be here at 3:00. I'm a little bit late. I don't know what's going on." And then it's just, okay, let's get you to where you need to be. And the next thing you're sitting in the client's office and you're like, bang, you're dead. So I think that there's a great advantage and a very logistical advantage. I think that when it comes to logistics, some of the best things that I've been taught is, you got to see it before it happens, put all your preventative measures in place. And if your client ends up getting buzzed and obviously what could have been done differently, things like that. But I mostly think that when it comes to being a female in the EP game, there's a lot of limits that people aren't pushing that should be pushed. And I think blazing through security, doing the testing, doing the security perimeter testing, and really getting in depth is one of those boundaries that a lot of women haven't been pushed, because from what I've been able to see, a lot of them are still trying to figure out where we stand in this game, because it is a very male dominated game. Mm-hmm. And I think that honestly, you stand right there next to them. You bring your absolute best to the table. And I think, one of the things that could absolutely be stepped up is appearance. You don't want to look frumpy and weird sitting next to your client. And one of the most fun things that I've really enjoyed doing is kind of testing the limits of that. How many things can I carry while not looking frumpy?
Yeah, that's what's up.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because you don't want to bring more attention to you.
Right.
When you're supposed to be protecting somebody, you need to look the same as they do. If they're going to be there in blue jeans and a button-up t-shirt, then you should be there in blue jeans and a button-up t-shirt. Mm. Unless they're saying otherwise. I know a lot of contracts are like, well, I want my guys to be in a suit. In that respect, then you really don't have a choice. But I think as far as blending in, a lot of clients today are looking to have people who blend in with exactly what they're doing. They don't want something that's so, out over there. Yeah. They just kind of want nice, low key stuff, unless it's, some clients, not so much.
Unless it's the type of clients that some of us stay away from.
Exactly.
I'm just going to let everyone else do the math on that. Yeah. Yeah, boy. But yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. Like, I've found even me, like, sometimes I'm like borderline too big for my clientele. Like, we start walking into rooms and everyone's like, who's the big black guy? What do we do? You know what I mean? And then I would like shrink myself and like put on some cardigans. No, but I like try to, blending in is kind of like it's the new normal for EP. For me, at least on the multiple details I work, clients appreciate it when you don't draw attention. Now, if you have a face that you're protecting, that's a whole nother dynamic. And now it's time to be possibly a people mover and all that stuff. But you said something. Walking into almost anywhere, if you have the right blazer and confidence, girl, really, honestly, I worked the inauguration, the last 2017 inauguration, and I broed my way. I don't even want to say this. I don't even want to say this on the podcast.
Say it.
I broed my way into multiple events with POTUS, with the president. Like, I was there working the detail, working the private side of the high donors and things like that, that were participating in all the events. Anyone who couldn't get State Department clearance type of thing. So we had a specific client, all this stuff. So we had plastics to go into the events, but I only had plastics for my primary guy who owned the company and the client. So they were like, park the car, see if you can get in. So I'm like, yo, let me
challenge accepted.
Yeah. So I got this little lapel pen from my lobby that looked all official, but like I had no idea. I just was like, this is cool. I'm in DC. I'm going to get some lapel pins for me and my buddies. Like, of course, I get this lapel pin. I get dressed up the way I get dressed up. We go to these events. I park. I get out of the car, and I literally walk through the first checkpoint, walk through the second checkpoint. Hey, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, man. Cool. All clean shaven, lapel pin, lift up my stuff, do the hokey pokey so they know I'm not carrying. Walk into the candlelight dinner, like multiple events pretty much all week without getting checked. And then a dude, one of the Secret Service guys, finally, we're sitting in a hallway, the governor such and such or whoever is in the room with my client, they're talking or whatever, and he looks at me and he's like, so what? I don't even know what they call, like, what precinct or what platoon or what squad are you from in the Secret Service? And I'm like, huh? Like, I'm private, man.
Secret
He's
who?
like, private. Yeah, exactly. Like, private. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm private. He's like, you have an official pin on. I'm like, I got this pen from my lobby of my hotel. I'm in DC. I got to get a pen. I got one for my buddy. He's like, looked at me and he was like, oh my gosh, this whole time. So yes, point in case, I've even done it in DC. You, with the right confidence and the right
kind of camouflage, you can walk up into places. Concerts, those are another one.
Easy.
That's easy. Yeah. You just act like you're with the house or
So
the video crew or whatever. I've taken clients that didn't even have backstage passes into the
It
back.
said, Joe, we're going backstage.
Yeah, like just pretending like I'm doing security for, you know what I mean? Like, just because I've done it so many times. I know they don't know exactly who I am. I know that, I can look important enough, like.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's real.
Especially when you're doing security and you've done it for so long, like game recognized game. When you see people out in public, you know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I see you, you poor soul.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's true.
I mean, you could just pick them straight out of a crowd when you've been doing it for long enough. And it's so funny because what I've realized is a lot of the security people that are out right now, because like, I don't know what it is, but Hollywood has pushed this image of like an operator, and everybody thinks that like private security and private contractors, like it's the place to be, when in reality, like it's a much different reality than the way that it's portrayed. And 100%. So you have a lot of these people that come into the industry now, and a lot of them do not like confrontation. Don't want anything to do with confrontation. And that's what makes it so easy to buzz by them. Because you just kind of look at them, and if you kind of you got that look, and you got that like don't F with me attitude, look for who's looking at you kind of a thing, and you just kind of blaze right by them, or you're like, hey man, how's it going? I need to get backstage. I have so and so coming through. Like, you don't even have to give a name. You just go, got this VIP coming through, and we need to go. A lot of them are like, yeah, okay, whatever you want. Like, I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Well, they're playing Russian roulette too. You know what I mean? Like, how many times have you been stuck at a door and they're like, your client's in there and there's like people coming at you at the cyclic rate, and you have to like 2 seconds to decide who's who in the zoo and who's your boss's cousin's nephew who can get fired.
Don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I'm sorry, you're who?
So there's all these different things that if you're in the game that civilians have no idea about. I love it. So now, like, what are you up to in the games? I'm sure everyone's dying to know at this point in the conversation. Like, who are we even talking? What is she? So what's your grind nowadays?
So I'm on a contract now, and it's a rotation based contract. So without getting too into depth about it, but it's really great contract, and I'm happy to be on the contract that I am, because it's taken me years to get there, and years of just like hitting the grindstone every single day, doing all the contracts that I didn't want to do in the beginning to get to the contract that I'm at now. And it took me several years to get there. So I'm happy with the level that I've been able to achieve within the industry, because now I can take a step back and start pushing more limits as far as like what would be the new appropriate when it comes to dress. What's going to give you the most professional look that you absolutely can achieve while you're packing heat? How many things can you get away with? What can you get away with? What are things that you probably need to take into consideration, and how to draw less attention to your client? So it's given me the ability to push that. But outside of that, one of my favorite things to do is consult. I've gotten to a point where I've realized in the industry that I love problem solving. And that's what EP is. EP at its core is logistics and problem solving.
Right.
It's fast problem solving. How quick can you get there? And how smart are you logistically? And are you able of thinking outside of the box within the parameters of what is legally right?
Yeah.
What you can legally get away with. Can you walk a little bit of that gray line, and, what can you fluff up a little bit and
make it work?
Absolutely. And what I've learned that I 100% love to do more so is be that consulting aspect of it, because I realize that I can play into my appearance. I don't look like I do what I do. And it makes it that much easier to push the boundaries of somebody's security and really do that red teaming thing where you can test everything and get an in-depth look and give something a really realistic, I don't want to say critique, but you can really analyze somebody's security and give them a very good dossier of what their reality actually is. And, there's you can't do that with big suits knuckle dragging big suits. You just can't get that same dossier. So I love doing that. That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's taken me a lot of years to get there. So I'm like happy with that. And then I do my work when I'm on rotation.
So when you're off rotation, you're doing consulting and red cell stuff?
Mostly consulting and bodybuilding.
Like the red cell stuff's a treat when it comes through.
You know what? I met a couple guys who do it, and they're the most horrifyingly fascinating people I've ever met.
Right?
Yes, they're the kind of guys that you sit back and go, I'm sorry, I'm changing all of my passwords on everything.
Yeah, they're like,
can I change my social security number?
Yeah, literally. They're like, I exploit people's weaknesses for a living. And you're like,
yeah.
Huh? And then you're like, how easy is it? And they're like, just like this. And you're like, ah!
Honestly, I thought like I've always been very good at keeping, myself very private and keeping my own OPSEC on point. And because when you have clients, you also want to be able to say like, don't post anything on your social media until you're at least 2 hours outside of a venue. Like, don't be dumb. And I always try to keep my own OPSEC on point. And then we're sitting with a very good friend of ours who's a white hat guy. And that's a horrifying experience. Right. Oh my God. We sat down and we were talking about something, and he pulls out of his backpack an RFID like copier.
Reader or skipper. Yeah.
The whole 9 yards. I mean, he could buzz by somebody within 3 feet and then pull the card out of his backpack. And you're sitting there like, that's pretty sweet. Yeah. How do I do that? And it's made out of like garage parts. Like the guy was just absolutely brilliant.
Golly.
Very brilliant guy. But it was the same kind of guy that does this. And he'll give you like your social security number, your mother's maiden name, your last 7 passwords. And I'm like, I'm just changing everything.
Yeah, it's like Revenge of the Nerds on like finally on blast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jeez. So you said bodybuilding, you recently won a title. What's up? How was that?
Boop, boop. It was amazing. It was amazing to take home the veterans title. I know. Thank you.
No, awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Being a former Marine, it's so near and dear to my heart. There were a lot of veterans, more than I anticipated, that came out, and so it was a pretty well-sized class, and it was really, it was very humbling, and it hit me straight to the core to be able to take home that title and say like, oh my God, I'm the bikini champ. Like, got it.
Outstanding. And for the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going against an Army, a Navy. It was mostly Army, Navy that were there. There were a couple of figure girls that were also Marines, but I don't compete against figure girls. So it was like really good to be the Marine in my division. And then to see the Marines in the other division, we kind of like clanned up, like simplify. Yeah. It was doing that in the back. It was really nice to be among, a lot of that same kind of atmosphere and that same kind of camaraderie again. It's really rare to find that.
It's therapeutic when we can find it. And
then we all start doing like Marine Corps stuff where we just bark at each other, throw crayons,
throw things, throw knives for no reason. You walk in the room, like everyone backstage is just throwing knives, which would be what a bunch of Marines would be doing. But that's awesome. I feel like I've watched a few shows where they're like different military factions. It's like Army, Navy, Marines, and I just don't feel like they represented us well. Like,
I know.
Like Rudy was on one of them, Rudy Reyes, and he's a killer, but then he like got injured. And I was like, Rudy, bro, what are you doing right now? Marines are dying, bro. Fix your leg and get back in there.
We need you to
No
represent.
one cares, dude. Right?
What was crazy is they did like cool, he's a great guy. They did a salute to the troops thing. So like it was funny is they bring everybody out, and so all of us are like posing on stage, but everybody's like there posing, and we weren't expecting to be out there that long, so all of us are like cramping, like
muscles just freezing up.
Yeah, weren't expecting to be out there that long. But the first 2 guys that they brought out, and then they brought me out, all of us were Marines, so all of us, like the Marines, were on the corner half of the stage. Then they started playing the Marine Corps hymn. It was like everyone straighten up.
Yeah, tighten up.
Yeah, tighten up. Make this look good.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's awesome.
It was great. It was great.
So background, girl, let's get into that. How'd you get here? Where'd your journey start? All that fun stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
For me, I always wanted to be in the military. That instilled a lot of people kind of look at it as if as a method of escape or as a way to go to college or all of these other things. But for me, it was what I was good at. Running, jumping, climbing trees, shooting at people when you get up there. That's what I was good at. And it has a lot to do with, the way that my dad raised me. And I was always around guns from a very, very young age. I was rock climbing from a very young age. My dad was a martial artist. So I was always in that atmosphere. And for me, I didn't see anything different. There wasn't any other kind of a blinder that was there that, says that, this isn't something that the average kid does. So I always wanted to be in the military. I had that desire, but I didn't really have direction. And my parents weren't really, they always thought it was a phase. My mom definitely thought it was a phase. She was like, you're going to college. And I was like, I don't do well in school.
You're like, I hate school.
I hate school.
Yeah, that's how I was.
But my mom was great because she never told me that I couldn't do something. When I was in high school, I went out for the hockey team and I ended up becoming the captain of my hockey team. And I was the only female that was in the division. So I was always used to being the only female that was going to be pushing those boundaries. And a lot of it had to do with my dad was like, just kick him in the teeth. And my mom was like, you could do it. Nobody says no to just do what you want to do. and so I was always just like, nah, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
So my parents were great and very, very supportive of the things that I was just innately good at. And that happened to be not the norm. And so when I got to high school, I knew I wanted to be in the military. When I got to high school, we had an ROTC program that ended up being a Marine Corps ROTC program. And that definitely helped me decide where I wanted to go because I had an instructor that was there to really kind of be that guided hand. And he was a Marine, but he wasn't biased, only so much as a Marine could be, but he wasn't biased in the sense of helping somebody who is a small kid trying to figure out what branch to go to. And he asked me all of the right questions and he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said that I wanted to be in combat. And he was like, well, no female can be in combat. You're just not allowed to do it. Because at first I was like, I'm going to be infantry. I'm going to be army.
Be the most infantry ever.
Yeah. And then they're like, women can't do it. And I was like, artillery? Women can't do it.
How can that? Is there an angle here? Is there a waiver or something? What's the angle? How do we do this?
What's the waiver?
This has to happen.
I can do my pull-ups.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was trying to figure out the best way to get there. And so from the time that I was 12, I was preparing to be a Marine. Because at that point, they were like, the question that I had asked was, who gets to go to combat the most? And mind you, at this point, 9/11 had already happened. And they're like, well, Marines, tip of the spear, first in. And I was like, Semper Fi!
You're like, I'm down. What's up?
Doing it. So it was from there figuring out where within that spectrum somebody like me would fall and not absolutely hate where I was. And I had done devil pups and I had gone back every year.
So you were about it. Dang.
Absolutely. I was in ROTC. It was the only subject that I was really excelling at. And then it was during the summertime, my entire summer would be spent down in Camp Pendleton. At the time, my dad was security contracting. So there was a lot of aspects of that life and that lifestyle that was really kind of shaping and molding the person that I was going to be. But I never looked at security contracting through my dad. I'm going to end up there. I never looked at it that way. It just kind of ended up that way. But as far as being in the Marine Corps, I was expecting to do a full 20. I was expecting to go until the Navy said you can't go anymore. So getting out so early was not something that I was ready for. And it took me to a dark spot immediately after I got out. So when I went in, I ended up, went through Devil Pups. I had met with a couple of females who were in more of a ground element MOS. And I asked them how'd you get here? And I had one female said that if you want to get to combat, and that's what you want to do, and I was probably 16 at the time, she said you can either be a truck driver or you can be a radio operator. And I was like, well, I'm not driving trucks. I know that.
I can do stuff, but truck driving ain't the stuff.
Yeah, well, because they were just like, this was, gosh, early 2000s. It was probably around 2005, 2006 when I decided that I was going to be an RTO. And and a lot of it was up to chance. So it was like, you go in, you enlist under a communications MOS, and then, kind of the Marine Corps dictates where you're going to fall in there. And I was fortunate enough to get down to radio operator. And then I was an attachment to a combat engineering battalion. And then I was tasked out, and I volunteered to go in advance. And because I was just like, I'm going, don't care.
I want to get something. Yeah.
Trying to get some. I was absolutely trying to get some. And I did. And I got, I definitely got some.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first time that I ever got into a firefight, we were bounding in these ditches, and I remember landing in one of the ditches, and I was like, if I die here, my mom is going to be so
pissed. Yep.
She will revive me and kill me herself. She will take me into this world. She will take me out of this world. And so I was like, I'm not doing that. Best survive. And then I came back home, and I got pushed out under tattoo policy.
Okay.
So
what?
Swear? Yeah. Yep. It was when they were doing the downsizing, when they said they're going to cut the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I remember that.
Within 7 years. About that. Yeah, and the commandant at the time was like, we could do it in 2.
Yeah, because we're the Marines.
Yeah.
Kill everyone. I want you to cut off a fourth of all Marines. Kill them. Just kill them.
That's fine. Everybody's done.
Eat our own. They knew that when they signed the contract.
Yeah. They're just a number, and we're cutting numbers.
Yeah.
So it was, they had that loophole when it came to B billet. They said, if you're going to re-enlist, you have to have a B billet, because volunteering isn't enough. You have to give your time back to the Marine Corps. And I was like, that's fine. I'll take a B billet. It's like, I don't want it, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I went up for my B billet, and I didn't even give a shit what I got. I didn't care what I did. I was just, as long as I could stand, because I'm going until, I had my whole
till it's curtains
path picked out for me. And then they're like, well, your tattoos aren't in accordance with the Marine Corps policy. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Grandfather that in.
Yeah.
And come to find out that the grandfathering period was actually when I was deployed. I was on mission, deployed on mission, and they had a 30-day grandfathering period. I did not hit the grandfathering period, and none of my stuff got documented. So when I was going in, I was like, there's got to be something I could do. There's got to be some kind of a waiver. And I got caught in that loophole. And the next thing I knew, they said they came in. I put in for it anyways. I did everything I could. I pleaded for it. I had everybody sign recommendation letters, pleaded my case. And I'll never forget it. I was standing in a commanding general's office. And that's because that's how they would bring everybody in one by one to dictate orders. And I remember I ended up speaking out of turn, because I was like, sir, I'm a damn good Marine, and I take care of my Marines. And he goes, no, you were a good Marine. Denied. And I was like, no. Like, you can
sad.
You can see everything.
So sad.
Every bit of scarlet and gold was just
puppies were dying, crying. This is horrible. You were a Marine.
Way.
Oh my gosh.
It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Broken me so much as being told that you can't do everything that you've ever wanted to do in your life anymore. So it was like when I got out, I was trying to figure out my new identity.
Yeah.
Like what a lot of people don't realize is when you're 17 and you get out, now you're like 17 again. And you have
you got out at 17?
No, I got out at 21.
Okay.
I got out at 21 expecting to be like 38 when I got out.
Yeah. Jeez.
So what a lot of people don't realize is that when you get out, you have to recalibrate to a new zero.
Everything.
Have to do it. You have to do it. And I was trying to figure out what my new zero was. And it took years to figure it out. I was doing construction, trying to work security on the side, trying to figure out my angle, because security is what I knew. It was the closest thing that I could find to what I enjoyed doing.
Right.
And trying to find that angle. And it started kind of like getting traction a little bit, security was. And then it was like, I started out working event security. Like I was working for a company doing event security. I did the yellow jacket thing.
Good.
Like the whole 9 yards.
Good. Get some. Go on ahead. Get them stripes. Get them stripes.
And then I started getting like celebrity contracts. And I'm like, I got celebrity contracts. And then I was like, I hate celebrity contracts.
Exactly.
Because they're doing all sorts of stuff until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Work.
You're like mainlining Red Bull. You haven't slept in like 2 days and you're hallucinating a little.
Yes. And they're like cats. So like you're driving home to like at like 9 a.m. from LA or Hollywood, if you're lucky. And like they're going to be waking up at like 3 or 4. You got to be back to deal with everything.
My gosh.
And it's just like, I'm supposed to sleep.
You got to be up there
in the middle of the
before
day.
them. Yeah, you got to be there before them.
Yeah.
They wake up. You're, not there until
the housekeeper's coming at 8, so someone's got to stay back. Like it just can get.
You're like,
ridiculous.
I'll just sleep in the car. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I've been through worse. I think.
My gosh! Like celebrity contracts are rough. They can get really rough, but you learn so much from those contracts,
and
you really learn a lot.
Yeah, you give yourself a backdrop to appreciate what you have when you get to better levels of the game. Like Christian West said this on our first episode when I was talking with him. He's like, I hope everyone in the industry has to at least go on tour for a year before getting in the game, because then you have in your mind, like now I'm on a detail with a few guys that haven't been around the block as many times in some certain spots of EP, and they're like, sometimes they know how good they have it because they at least have a military background, but sometimes we'll like stumble across like a security brat moment. We'll be complaining. And then it's like, hold up. You know what I mean? Like, these guys, these clients are good people. They go home, they go to bed, like 10, they're never out past 11. Like, this is awesome. So
there's a set schedule. We get our schedule at least 2 weeks in advance. We know exactly what's going on. They actually talk to their assistants and their PAs.
They don't just do stuff. Like, I want to go to Tahiti. We're getting on the jet in an hour and a half. Like,
oh my God, those are
it's real. It's real.
It is so real. Like from contracts like that those are the contracts where I learned, like, make sure you have a double of everything. Make sure that you have a set of weapons that can go through an airport security. Like, and what does that mean? What does that look like? Make sure that what is your go bag going to look like? What is the bag that's going to fit on you for everything that you have? What is like, I call it my 2 hours out. Yeah. And so I have a bag that I call like my 2 hours out bag, where it's literally just a small little compact suitcase that has all of that stuff in it. And it's like, clients getting on a plane in 2 hours, you got to get down there right now. It's like, that's the bag. That's going to get thrown in the back, and I'll figure it out when I get down there.
Awesome.
Those small things like that are the things that you have to have. It is a must have. Yeah,
because you're gonna have to scramble the jets. Absolutely. And you can't not be ready. You can't not be ready.
No, because they look at you as their cornerstone.
Everything. Yeah.
You are their cornerstone. Like, you're the one that has all of the answers because they know that you've already talked to everybody. So you can't show up there and not have answers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did you get into, so you were getting your licks, coming up in the game, doing some yellow shirts or white shirts or whatever it is in your zip code. And then how did you transition into executive protection?
So, funny story. I knew that where I was at wasn't the peak of where I wanted to be. I knew that when it comes to, there's security, there's bodyguarding, and then you have EP. And I wanted to be at that EP level. I wanted to be doing that domestic stuff. And I was, honestly, there was a point where I was living in my car. I was giving everything that I've got to being like, I just kind of dove in and was like, I'm going to shoot for it. I left construction and I was pushing work as much as I could. I was living out of my car. It's like we're talking scrounging for change underneath the seat, top ramen noodle style in the gas station.
Like peanut butter and jellies every single day. Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly is more expensive than top ramen noodles. Damn it.
Snap. To even know peanut butter and jelly is more. Oh, man.
It
All
was
right,
real.
girl. All right.
And it was like, it was dark because I was still trying to figure out like where I was.
Yeah.
And I put myself in a position where, how am I going to make this successful? I was sitting on my phone, setting up interviews every day of the week. Monday through Friday, I had interviews, and Saturday and Sunday, I was pulling gigs. So I was doing, VMAs,
Good
doing
old
Grammys,
Saturday and Sunday.
Yep, pulling all of the weekend gigs that I could possibly get my hands on. And I mean, we're talking like some bloodshot eyes getting through it. It was it was definitely like the roughest point. And then I knew that somebody's gonna open that door. All I need is somebody to crack the door open a little bit, and I'll kick it off of the hinges. That's all I need. Because I knew I was 21, 22 years old. I did not look the part. A lot of people were very nervous about taking a chance on somebody who looked like me. And because I also wasn't going to do the suit and the frumpy thing. I was going to do clean cut, 100% professional, but I was going to pack all of my gear on my body, and I was going to be there to be the logistical person that they needed. And I needed what wasn't happening was nobody was believing me that I was capable of doing that. So I was doing the Monday through Friday interviews every single day. And I had one guy out of LA, and he came back, and that was my first actual EP contract. And they were the ones that took the chance. And that's what elevated me from doing those jobs into EP. And I was driving every other day from LA to San Diego because they had a job down there that was close to the border. And, that was my first real EP gig. And then once I got there, that's when like my name started getting tossed around, because all I wanted was the chance, the opportunity to prove myself, to prove that I am capable of doing this, and I'm capable of exceeding everybody's expectations. And then once I was given that chance, it was, okay, now we have a female. And then my card started getting pulled. Then everybody's like, okay, who are you? We'll take you. And then I got a call for the contract that I'm on now. I got that call probably about almost 4 years ago now. It's still with the same family. Great people. And that's how I got there. It took a lot of grinding.
Because you mentioned that contract and how you took other contracts to work your way up to that, which is interesting that was able to halo for you long enough for you to get up there.
This industry is very scarce when it comes to work, and it doesn't operate off of Indeed.com. It operates off of word of mouth.
Yep.
And if you're there pushing the work, people, it's not how many people you know, it's who knows you.
That's the game.
Who's calling you? It doesn't matter that you can have a Rolodex of people that you can call. That's phenomenal. Everybody's got a flipping Rolodex, but it doesn't mean that those people are calling you.
Yeah. And that's honestly, this is why I say this a lot. Everything good and bad will come in and out of your life through relationships. And I have definitely learned that. And it's funny how when you get in the game and you start doing good work, there's a few guys I mentor, and a few guys are always asking me like, yo, how do I find work? How do I I'm like, you need street credit, really. You need guys to know that, like, you need good dude credit. Like, yo, no, he's a good dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a good agent. Because people are looking for agents, especially now. The industry is expanding. There's more opportunity now than ever before. And it's 100 times easier to get in the industry. But what's going to get you on the details, the good cream of the creme details, is going to be someone vouching for you and someone calling you. And so what you need to do, guys, girls, is you really need to render a high quality work product. That's what's going to make room for you in the King's Court. And that's how you get at the highest levels. Undercutting people, stabbing people in the back. Any negative, like my second value. In fact, I need to do an episode on this, but like my second rule is do no harm. If somebody's a shyster on my detail, or is like an eye guy, he's trying to steal all the limelight, thinks he's a flavor of the month, I'm like, cool, dude.
Bye.
I let him run out there. I let him run out there. They fall on their sword. Yeah, exactly. They fall on their sword, and they take care of themselves. But I don't do any harm. So at the end of the day, people just don't. I'm a force multiplier on a team. that's just it,
Yeah.
and those things have taken me far. Go ahead.
I think my biggest lesson that I've had to learn about myself personally is know when to put up and know when to shut up.
Yeah.
That's always been my biggest lesson. And I mean, to this day, like when I was in the Marine Corps, my mom used to sign all of my letters, choose your battles wisely, love always, mom, like to the point where I got it tattooed on my arm in her handwriting, because it was like my biggest life lesson. And for me, a lot of it came down to when I would see things that were going wrong, or see things that were problematic or would eventually be problematic. I wasn't addressing it in the most professional way possible. I was like, yo, this is messed up. Like, this should not be happening. Like, call this for what it is. Let's nip this in the butt right now. When the reality is that I should have been like, guys, I think that we need to come together.
Maybe take a look at this.
Yeah. Let's take a knee and really address what are the pros and cons of each one of these. So learning how to have tact, if I can.
Hashtag social dynamics.
Yeah. And
so important.
Learning how to, just have that smooth tact and verbal communication, and being able to really get across to not only the client, talk to my team the same way that I would talk to a client, with a lot of those social dynamics in play. That was like my biggest lesson, was that I couldn't sit there and go, this is messed up. This is going to go really, really bad right now. Don't do that.
Well, and
be more tactful.
As a female too, possibly, you're dealing with a little bit more of a sensitive ego kind of environment. You know what I mean? So you might have great input, but if you don't come correct, correct me if I'm wrong, you can actually greatly diminish your ability to be successfully communicate with dudes, just because of the sensitivity that might be required depending on who you're dealing with. Even for me, sometimes I'm like, a lot of what I do is caressing egos in a way to give me enough rapport to influence them. But I was raised by my mom and 5 sisters. So for me, it's like kind of a second language. You know what I mean? Like, I'm actually a very feminine communicator.
That's a really good point, because that is very true. It's one of those things that, you're going to be dealing with alpha and beta type personalities. And what I've learned is the more humble type of people that you meet are going to be those alpha males who don't have a problem taking a knee and being more open and receptive towards communication if you're doing it properly, if you're not being a dick and coming off as an insulting dickhead. But, you have those guys that are going to stand there and beat their chest like, I am alpha, you cannot talk to me.
No matter what. Which are really guys, betas.
Yeah, it's like...
Trying.
Beta.
Yeah, exactly. You just ruined it. This isn't natural for you.
Oh yeah. But what I have learned is that you do have to be very conscious of who you are. Like, you do have to have a level of self-awareness and be much more in touch with who you are and what your role is, and who you are as a woman in the game. So that you can properly communicate something like that, because you don't want to step on egos. And there's some guys that I've worked with that it breeds a certain type of mentality that you have to know when to put up and know when to shut up, and know when you can start saying things, and you have to be very, very well thought out, thorough. And 100% correct in everything that you say. Like, if you're going to blast off some kind of an email and you're going to be shooting out recommendations, you better get ready. The 5 W's for everything that you say. And you have to, one thing that I've always prided myself in doing, that I want more people to really start looking at doing, is that if you're going to say something is messed up, give at least 3 suggestions to fix it.
Yeah. Don't just present a problem.
Yeah, because anybody can identify a problem, but if you're not there with recommendations, give one super ridiculous out of the box one, give something that's much more practical, give recommendations that are all across the board, because the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody looks at your super out of the box one and goes, no, that's absolutely ridiculous, but maybe it sparks something for them. And now you're creating, an arena of proper communication, and you're creating something that is much more out of the box thinking, and now you can address problem solving. But if you're just kind of sitting there being annoying, give at least 3 solid choices to correct the situation if you're going to say that there's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things, like as a female, I've learned is the most receptive when I'm talking to my teammates, or when I'm dealing with an issue within my own environment and within the contracts, is giving solutions to problems.
Yeah.
Rather than just problems. Anybody can identify a problem.
Absolutely. 100% makes you more of an asset. So female carrying tips. Like, I'm still trying to
This is my specialty.
More often, so what's the voodoo you do when it comes to this?
I have got voodoo for your voodoo.
That's what's up.
I actually I want to do, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it, but I want to do like a photo series. I don't know what platform that I'm going to do it on.
We can do like a video series on EPL.
Let's do it.
Like, for sure, for women protectors. Absolutely.
Because I have learned a lot. I have learned a significant amount, and down to what kind of shoes that you should be wearing. Because for me personally, I'll wear pumps. I'll wear heels. I'll wear wedges. I'll wear, thick heeled shoes, because that's more feminine. I don't look out of place, but you will also catch me on the range in those same shoes. Because I can fight in them. Because it's like, if don't wear something that impedes your ability to do your job. And if you're not willing to go to the range and try it and to test it, then don't wear it. And don't do it. You can look like an ass on the range all you want, but you're not going to look like an ass in front of your client when something hits the fan.
Something actually happens.
Yeah. Be able to know that you can perform your job. So it's like the down to the jeans that I'll pick out. Like, my jeans are skin tight and they hug. But I'm also packing some serious heat underneath those suckers. And it looks more feminine, and it looks more professional and more approachable. So I'll wear pumps and I'll wear skinny jeans and a button-up shirt. And the best thing that I have found when it comes to packing heat is a belly band. It comes down to a belly band, because I can put it right up underneath my chest, and it's not so far down that it's the thing about appendix carry. And if you're being practical, and if to be, a female, and you're tucking your shirt in, understand that belly button and below is going to look very skin tight. If you're not going to be looking frumpy, it's going to look skin tight. It's going to be super weird if you appendix carry and you have a bit of a bulge.
Yeah.
You don't want to be insulting to the guys that are there. You're going to look kind of funny.
Because they're all looking.
They are all looking.
They are all looking. That's funny. Because, like, as a dude, I kind of walk around and, like, it's I will get looked at and sized up, but, like, women get looked at differently. I didn't even think about it. That's kind of, you guys get looked at, like, much more closely.
Yeah, well, the thing
just is because of the driving factors of, sex and all that stuff.
100%. And the thing is that, you don't have to wear a blazer. You can wear a shawl. What does that mean? What is that going to mean for where you're going to pack heat? Because if I have to wear something that's an open blouse and it has to look a certain way up front, then that means that I might pack right behind me and do, something in the rear rather than doing something up front, because my clothes are going to have to be much more of a tight fit. What's going to happen when you have to wear a dress? I have 100% rocked a shoulder holster. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I have gone Miami Vice style. Don't care. Prop strut.
And pulled it off.
Yeah. But there's a way to do everything, where if you're going to be in a dress, you could rock a shawl and do a shoulder holster and a button up and a one button deal. And you could do shoulder holster style, whatever is going to be more adaptive to what your situation is, but you should never look out of turn of your client. So it's best option for me has always been the belly band. I can hide it super well. And I found that that's the easiest way to hide. And you get the ones with all the pockets, and you can slap your med kit in there. Because let me tell you, and everybody's like, well, quick draw. And what if I want to secretly get to something? Something goes wrong. Cat's out of the bag.
Get there. Yeah.
Cat is out of the bag. That blouse is going to be off, and your entire belly band is going to be fully exposed, because you're going to be working.
Yeah.
100%. You'll be there working. It's cat's out of the bag. There's no secrecy 007 style in that. Yeah. You're going to be shooting, moving, medical aid, get off the BX.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's work time.
The belly band, I have heard this from a few females that I respect in the game. the belly band is like one of your guys' go-to for carrying. There was another holster that like sits underneath your chest. Is it good? Bad?
Have you seen the YouTube video where the girl shoots herself in the face with that thing?
That's it. No, no, that didn't happen.
That's a thing. That's a thing. I'm sorry if nobody's going to convince me to wear something that's going to clip to my bra that's going to point to my face, because if you don't, it
points at your face.
Yeah.
Golly, I got to look this thing up.
There's one that'll point straight to your face, and I'm one of those people that I'll do round in the chamber while I'm working, and
yeah.
As confident as I am, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go straight to my face. It doesn't mean that I'm going to point my weapon straight at my face.
Yeah. I even have a problem with appendix carrying. I carry appendix all the time. I got a gun. I got an appendix gun pointing at me right now. But
oh, please don't get so hot.
I trust my gear, but I still ain't got used to it. Every time I get a little all right.
You're aware of it though.
Let's adjust a little bit here. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't want to adjust. But
I can lose the left side, not the right side.
There's some important stuff down here. No, I dig it. But I ain't pointing no gun at my face.
Exactly.
I ain't doing that.
There's a YouTube video of a girl who shot herself in the face.
I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to. I know I'm gonna look it up, but I don't want to. But you know what I mean? It's like a train wreck.
She survived, but I think it clipped off half of her jaw. And I get it. Like, I don't know how much of you pulled that trigger. Like, obviously you pulled that trigger, but still.
Yeah.
That is just not my game. My game is like sleek, professional, stylish,
feminine,
very, very aware of my figure and my presence.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'm not going to be out there looking frumpy.
No. And it would be bad. I mean, it would be it wouldn't be as good of a quality work product. Clients, we represent their brand. You need to look feminine. You need to look somewhat attractive. There's a vanity to this game. Good looking agents do better in this game. It's just a fact. Like, I know your mom, loves you when you're overweight and all that stuff. But like, the truth is, as a human, your life will be better. You'll live longer when you're in shape, and you will go farther professionally, almost no matter what you do. If you can get your health under control,
ain't no one being mean. Have to be
the
fit.
Game.
You have to be fit, because if you
know what we do,
if you can't pull your own butt out of the situation, that means you can't pull your client out of the situation.
Yeah,
it's not going to be smooth. I've always felt like there's this funny spectrum when it comes to the industry. You are either very, very fit and dumb as rocks, or on the other side of the spectrum, you are way too out of shape and have no business doing this, but you're a logistical genius.
But
you're a networking master.
You're a logistical wizard.
Yeah, and you're a networking master, but what you want to be is somewhere that is right in the middle.
Yeah. And that's what we're all aiming to be. I think that's what we're all aiming to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all know people on that side of the spectrum.
Oh yeah, 100%. So, what is it like being a woman in the security game? Really? Broad question, but just put your flag wherever you want.
What is it like?
If you were going to break it down for like a chick who's thinking about getting into EP and she's like, I want to be a protector. And you're like, training day.
Let's sit down.
The deal. Yeah.
Sit down and talk.
Break it down.
Well, to break it down, shotgun style. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm. I do. I like
it. 1775.
It's too Marine. It's awesome. It's so good.
I don't get a chance to express that much.
Marines are laughing, right?
I know. Everybody else is like, who?
Huh?
What?
They're weird.
What year is that? Don't test this blood stripe, bro.
This could go on.
This is so bad.
Yeah.
No, if I was going to sit down and have a one-on-one talk with a female about what the reality of being in this industry is, I would tell her, be self-aware. You have to be very self-aware. Who
Fantastic.
You are, what you're doing, understand the monster that you're getting yourself into, and what level of, excuse my French, but what level of shit are you willing to take?
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to take? What are you willing to put up with? And what are you willing to fight back on? Because know that there will be a lot of questions about your ability to do your job. And you have to be able to take that with a grain of salt, take the constructive criticism that's within that, and be able to alter it towards something that is going to be beneficial to you, because people will 100% shit on you. They absolutely will. Well, yeah. And they're going to, if you're on a team that's all males, there's going to be a level of pushing to see what you're fully capable of and what you're emotionally willing to deal with, because they're going to look at you and they're going to push your emotions, and they'll push it to see if, not out of insult, but to see if you're thick-skinned enough to stay there. Yeah. So it's not anything that's personal, and it's knowing consciously that it is not personal. It's not personal against you or who you are as an individual. You're encroaching on a very specific territory, and you have to be thick-skinned enough to take all of the constructive criticism with a grain of salt and be able to alter it to something that's going to be a very, very professional product. And you maintain your professionalism 100% from start to end, and understand that your life will be like consider yourself living in a little light bulb with the light always turned on, and everybody's looking at what you're doing. And it's not something that everybody's going to consciously do. They'll subconsciously do it, but you're still going to feel it. Just know that you have to bear that weight. You have to understand that is very much a thing. And what can you do and learn from other people's mistakes to give the best, most professional product that you can give.
And yeah, that's it. Well, that's beautiful. And the thing is, I think too, like from my perspective, and be twice as good, give them nothing, be above reproach, like give them nothing. Because the reality is you're stepping into kind of a masculine dominated space. How do men deal with each other? Go and study.
They check each other.
Exactly.
They will check each other.
She gets it. You study any masculine culture. Yo, welcome to the pack. We're going to jump you now. And then we're going to find out what you're about. Like, you get to the platoon and the fleet, you're going to get tightened up. Like,
you ever walked a gauntlet, son?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, like, we have to see what you're made of. We're going to jack you up. And then, like,
if you're still walking at the end of it, then okay, now we're going to sit down and maybe we'll talk.
Yeah, exactly. Then maybe you'll get some respect, but that's masculine pack theory. Pack it is stuff.
And the funny thing about it is that everybody's like, don't give, like you said, don't give them something to chew on. But the reality, I feel like the reality on something like that is they will find. There's always going to be something to chew on. There's always going to be something to chew on. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? What are they chewing on? And getting to the bottom of those things. If it's going to create conflict or rift in between your team and your level your ability to communicate effectively to get a task completed, if they're chewing on something, find out what that is, and then what are you going to do about it to alter their perspective on it, or to give them something better to chew on. Don't chew on dog shit. Chew on Jolly Ranchers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
what are you going to give them
to chew on?
Sometimes it's a perception thing. Sometimes you're just looking for something. And then it's like, okay, do I want to fight the righteous battle of proving how illegit this is? Or do I want to just like fix this problem, deal with it, validate this douchebag, validate this person, turn them from an enemy into someone who feels like, oh, well, she's like, listen to my good idea. And now they're a friend of me. And now, but they're not fighting against you. And now you've disarmed their ego, and now you're all moving the same direction. Or you can dig your heels in and be like, this isn't legit, this is BS, and like start an ego battle.
Yeah, and let me tell you, nobody's going to want to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's too much weight on the team. Exactly. Well, the thing is that I really can't stand is the internal fighting. Like, if complacency kills.
Absolutely.
Complacency can 100% kill a team. And kill a team's effectiveness. So if there's, anybody, they start creating busy work, then they start looking at each other.
And extra rules for no reason.
It's
nothing's
also,
really wrong.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to that tribal mentality too. Anybody who's ever read Tribe, go read Tribe. Because it's a very, very good book, but it also points out a lot of things that are very much accurate, especially when it comes to people within this industry who have former military training. Everybody has that similar level of mentality, and the way that we all look at everything, there's always a constant battle of sizing each other up.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an alpha, you feel it. Like, that there's always someone being like,
who are you? There's always going to be somebody biting at your
Is
ankle.
your shoulder kind of weak today? Like, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm sorry, do you look tired?
Yeah, exactly. I bet I take them today. You know what I'm saying? Trying you all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But that's really good advice. I really genuinely feel like that, because I get calls from time to time that are like, yo, you know of any good females? And I'm like, I think I recommended you for a few of them. And I'm like, man, like, I've gone out on a limb here before and I have seen it backfire, you know? So like everyone's ultra afraid to be like, yeah, she's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everybody always gets nervous.
Yeah, you know, you just don't know. And I think that, you know, if someone can kind of like, if a female can come into a detail with that mentality of, hey, give them nothing, take nothing personal, and understand that I have to prove myself, like, forget feelings, prove myself. And we'll probably have to prove myself a number of times, and not take anything personal, I reiterate.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really a recipe for success.
Yeah,
you know?
I think, understand that you're never going to be a master of the trade. Nobody's ever a master. Anybody who says that they're a master is definitely 100%
They're not self-aware.
Yeah. You have to be very self-aware, very, very understanding that you're always going to be proving yourself. Every day you're proving yourself. Every day you're bringing something to the table. You has to be better than the day before. It's always going to be judged. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's a student here.
And it's the same here. I mean, it's the same every time I show up in front of my client. You know what I mean?
Because you never know what kind of mood that they're going to be in. And I think that it's important to be, when you really embrace that you're always a student in this industry, then you can really start testing the boundaries and testing, the boundaries of what you look like, your style carry, and discovering what your own personal style is, and, different ways of entering. Yeah, different ways of entering a building. Like, maybe you pick a lock one time, maybe you don't. You know what I mean? Like, understanding different ways to do it and being comfortable with testing that. It's like, hey, this may get messed up, this may not get messed up, but we're going to learn something new from it either way. I think that's really important to embrace that.
Awesome. What would you say about pros and cons to being a female in the EP game?
Pros and cons. Damn, that's a good one. The pros are, the more obvious ones, where you can push through basically any perimeter. People don't suspect security. You. No.
Not if you're like a young, decent looking, like, not frumpy female. Like, if you're young and attractive and like not doesn't I don't want to say, I don't care about being politically correct, but like, if you don't look like, what we would expect a tactical female to look like in real life,
we're all visually
Instagram,
picturing it.
Not on Instagram, then you're a ghost. You're a ghost. And not to mention, most dudes will be too distracted with everything else to really think about you as a security threat.
The last thing that people think of when they look at me is like, this is somebody who's going to punch through security. Yeah. That's the last thing that I get looked at as, and that's a total pro. If you're able to manipulate that situation and you can use that to your advantage, that is 100% a pro in your life, and your ability to, problem solve through your situations and logistically navigate through them and be able to provide an accurate picture of information back to your client and to articulate that to them, 100% a pro. The cons would be pretty basic in the sense of, what you're going to be able to, how far you're going to be able to go. You're only going to be able to go as far as the people surrounding you are willing to let you go. It's certain things like that, because it is a hard pill to swallow when you're a successful EP agent. Surrounded by, a whole bunch of people that are on that exact same level. When they realize that you are on that same level of EP as them, it gets that much more competitive, because they're like, well, I can't lose to that. I can't lose to this. No way. It does get very, very competitive, and it can get very, very catty. And that's when maintaining your own poise really comes into play. And I think that would probably, that's a con, because there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to have to bite your tongue and just kind of suck it up and understand the monster of the industry that you're dealing with. But, I think that there are more pros than there are cons. And that's probably why I've stayed in the game as long as I have. I haven't found enough cons to kick me out.
Yeah, no. Well, absolutely. And you're having success with it. 100%. Is there anything you hate about private security?
I think that more contracts need to be open to a rotation based style of contract.
Why though?
The thing that I hate about certain contracts is the inability to properly negotiate the terms of a contract. So, and understanding what exactly it is, the full picture of what a contract needs to be fully successful, because anybody who's in this industry knows that there's really not any longevity to contracting. So you're constantly bouncing from client to client, from contract to contract, and doing all that stuff. Why are you doing it? Well, you're doing it because there's not really any longevity to where you're at. Why? Because people aren't properly negotiating the parameters of what these contracts are supposed to look like. And that's what drives me nuts more than anything, is they're painting a false reality back to these clients, because they're like, no, we can accomplish this with like 2 dudes and a battery
and a midget.
You know what I mean? Like,
we give us like 3 batteries and
yeah, and you're like, what? No, you're gonna have a bunch of dudes that are just smoked by the end of it. You're not being practical towards everybody else's realities, and that. What I mean by that is their realities are, some of these guys have families.
Yeah.
They have a life.
They're humans.
They need to have something outside of this world. And maybe that means that in order to do something like that, rather than having one guy pulling a 12-hour shift, or if you're going to have like a 24-hour, security type of an element, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
How long because they're like, oh, well, we'll just do like
12 on, 12 off. It'll be great.
Yeah. But, and I hate that. I hate it when people are like 12 on, 12 off. And you're like, no, because let me tell you, people can't do 12 on, 12 off forever. That's what's going to kill your contract, because those guys are going to get tired. They're going to get complacent. They're going to fall asleep sitting in the car. And
that's why cops even have the 3-4 shifts a week. And that's, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh,
3 12s or 4 8s.
Yeah. That's the thing that I can't stand, is when it's not practical, when it's not like logistically smart, when it does not make sense, and you can't, but they've already closed off the contract. And then it's like, okay, well, this is only going to last like maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks at most, maybe a couple months. You're going to get a high turnover rate, and then your contract's going to look like garbage. Your company's going to look like garbage because you're going to have such a high turnover rate, and the volume of people isn't going to look good. So what you really need to do is properly look at these things and understand that you're dealing with human beings. And if you want to keep somebody sharp, you want to keep them on point, you want to keep them coming back to the job, you have to have an environment that is 100% practical to what you're doing. And give longevity. Because if you don't, they're done. Contracts.
Yeah. You'll make the short money.
Yeah.
And then you'll make a mistake. No, I dig that. That's a 100-foot view. That's good. As you don't usually hear that from like the agent necessarily. That's a business. That's a PPO kind of view. I dig it. What do you love about the private security game?
Problem solving. I love the complex problem solving. I love figuring out new things and testing new theories and new ideas and new methods of carrying and new methods of, probing through security and doing this job. I don't think that there's any 100% correct way to do it. I think that there are several correct ways to do it. And it's just what style is going to work best for you. I mean, you can only do something so flippin' wrong in this industry. And I think that, instead of looking at it going like, this is the one true path to doing this. Like, I don't think that's true. I think that, like, how many different ways can you do a mag change? You know what I mean? Like, you could pull it out and you could do, just
the L shape.
Yeah,
the speed reload.
Flip it out. You could reload. You could take a knee. There are so many different ways to reload.
Arrive.
And I think that same methodology should be applied here, because you're going to have the people that are going to look at it and go, there's only one way to reload. There's only one way to speed reload. And that is the one true correct answer. And you go, no, because shooting is a science. The weapon itself is a science, but everything on the other side of the weapon is a theory. And, that's going to be what's comfortable to the person that's doing it. And I think the same thing applies here, that there is a science to it, and your science in this essence would be your client. The protection of your client is going to be your baseline. Everything outside of that and how you approach that is your theory. And that's going to be what's, keeps you at the student level. Continue to probe in different things. Everybody's going to have their own way to do it. But what if you said it's all correct? Yeah. Everybody's correct in what they do. And then you're seeing different perspectives, different levels of problem solving, how other people come to the same conclusion. And then you're able to learn, and, maybe this works over here. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe this one works for this client, doesn't work for that client. And if you're open and ready to receive that level of information, that is, that's one of those things that I 100% love about this industry, is that you get a million different ways to do secret school stuff that is going to arrive at the same conclusion of client safety.
Yep. That's what's up. No, I love that. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Cause I agree 100%. Like, what validates a process to me is the result. Like, can you get the result? Okay. And then what makes it more relevant is the context. Well, you know what? The way that Jimmy was doing it last week is going to work better for this context when I'm at this special event with my client. The way Jeff was talking about it the week before is going to work at this context when we're at the FBO. So it's like, I agree 100% with that. Like, the way is no way, kind of like Bruce Lee. Absorb what's useful, disregard what's useless, add what is essentially your own way. So keep that cup half empty. I love that. That's kind of how I get down too. So yeah, no, I dig that 100%. What is the hardest lesson you've learned in the executive protection game, girl? You got a story. Stories are cool too.
The hardest lesson I have learned. That's a really good question, because your lessons are going to be dictated on what kind of a person you are.
No, you've got some depth. I dig it. I personally think you're correct, because you might get hit with one thing. I might get hit with something that I'm highly inoculated to and be like, whatever, dude, let's roll. And then I might get hit with something else that I'm not inoculated to, or I have a soft spot or a worry or some trauma around. And so for me, it's like, that was the scariest thing in the whole entire world. You're like,
and for the dude riding shotgun's like, please. I think the biggest lessons that you learn are also dictated on the person that you're bringing to the table. So for me, my biggest lesson is it goes back to choosing your battles wisely. It goes back to knowing when to put up and when to shut up, and when and how to control what I say and what I do. And that was always my biggest hurdle for me. And like, I go through everything, and I'll have somebody proofread something for me to make sure that I don't sound too outlandish when I say something, because for myself, I have a vision of the product that I want to be presented to not only the client, but be presented to my team. And that's somebody that who is willing to take that constructive criticism. So I don't want to push the image of somebody who's just going to pop off. It goes back to, I don't want to, when a conflict arises or a problem arises, I don't want to be, this is messed up. We need to be doing this. We got to do A, B, C, and D. And the leader in me is going to want to step up and take charge. But the professional in me is going to need to know and understand and be aware of my teammate and all of my teammates and the element that I'm in, and then my position and role within the team, and what's going to be the most beneficial spot for me, not only for my team, but for my client, and knowing where I'm going to fall in that parameter. And if for me, I'm very, very good at advancing. I love advancing. So taking point on something like that and providing a safe passage through for my client, for my teammate, is going to be the best spot for me, rather than taking a step back and going, we need to be doing A, B, C, and D in screw what everybody else is saying. So And I definitely started off like that. I started off as somebody who was very boisterous, and I was very much, in your face, because at the time, to create my own presence, I thought that's what I had to be. I thought I had to be leveling up on that game and stepping up in that game. And the hardest lesson I learned is, to take a step back, to be smart with what I say, to know when to say it and what to say, being tactful in what I say, and knowing and understanding my position and my role and what is going to be the most beneficial to my teammates and to my client. Mm-hmm. That was hard.
No, that's on point. Because it seems like you have a very like fiery, high drive personality.
Yeah.
And I can see that torque that you have can get you into, it's probably has gotten you into trouble before. And a lot of your game is like managing that, that. And like you said, self-awareness really. Mm-hmm. And then marrying that with tact.
It's managing that and then redirecting it.
Yeah.
And learning and understanding what the redirection is, because I'm a person that loves chaotic situations, and I very much embrace that. And I feel very much more at peace in very chaotic type of elements, because then it gives me a problem to solve, and then I can mentally put myself there and problem solve and work my way through something, which it feels very accomplishing and very peaceful and almost therapeutic to me. So
like
how do I redirect all of that little spitfire energy and that piss and vinegar to something that is going to be 100% beneficial? And for me, that I found that through, advancing and networking and creating pathways through chaos to safely get somebody through, their situations. So that's my redirection. And I think that it's not just as important to be self-aware as it is to be redirective within, the element that you're good at.
100%. Yeah. It's the Oracle at Delphi, man. I have it tattooed on my arm.
Do you really?
Temet Noske. Yeah. Know thyself. And for me, it would be more on the side of, I have been blessed to have a number of experiences that have given me confidence. Yeah. And I have a lot of physical ability, and even like cognitively, a lot of ability. I'm like not that good academically in terms of like reading and writing and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to these other things, like I feel that I've been able to excel. But with that, I've always had the grace of God, this fear of letting that confidence turn into inaccurate confidence, which is arrogance. Yeah. And so I've always proceeded with the highest like trepidation, fear, and respect of just like, hey man, don't ever let that confidence turn into arrogance, because inaccurate confidence, pride comes before a fall, And so once that confidence becomes inaccurate or over reaching, then like it was all a dream. You know what I mean? Like, it was all a dream. Like, and it's ugly and it's not attractive, and it's
somebody that nobody wants to work with.
Yeah, you can be the most beautiful, capable, athletic, tactical genius, but if you are arrogant, disgusting. I mean, like you're
immediately get out,
right? Like
the door.
Yeah, nothing makes that okay.
Get out.
So that's been. I don't feel that I've struggled with it, but I've had the type of confidence that has caused other people to say you're arrogant, and I've always had to really have deep conversations with myself about, are they saying that I'm arrogant because they don't recognize this brand of confidence because they don't have it in themselves and never have been able to? Or are they right? And I've always just kept that conversation going in order to stay grounded.
Maintaining a level of humility through the whole thing. And it's funny because we talk about that, and, it hits very, very deep. And that is more, if you step back and think about it, because the client never sees that. The client doesn't see that. The client doesn't deal with that. But what that does and where that puts you in that thought process needs to be maintained is within the parameter of your team. Because the people that immediately affects are going to be the people that you're going to be immediately working with. Those are the people you're pulling 12, 14, 20-hour shifts with, and you don't want them looking at you going, you're a cocky asshole.
You think your stuff doesn't stink, yeah.
No, those are the people that you're going to be working with. Those are the people who are going to have your back. Those are the people that, when something happens with your family, that they're going to be there to cover down on you. Yeah. And to be there for you. So you do those are not toes that you want to step on. You want to maintain a level of humility with that and understanding and respect towards everybody else that you're going to be working with.
Mm-hmm.
The client
100%.
doesn't see it, but your teammates will see it.
Oh yeah. And if and when the client finally sees it, it's too late. You're done training probably. Yeah, you're probably, because your team probably let you.
Tin, son, go home.
Yeah, take a knee, face outboard. Get this dude a shovel. Yeah, I mean, like, get him the E-tool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. You're digging trenches, kid.
Yeah, man, it's over. So, what would you say is your proudest moment in the EP game?
So anybody who knows EP knows that it is a thankless job. And it's a thing. I say it's a thankless job because you can never look at it as if you're going to expect to be thanked by your client or thanked by your teammates. Because at the end of the day, you're doing your job. And it's the same mentality a lot of people have about medals. You know what I mean? Where it's like, what you got a medal for doing your job? Like, golf clap.
Slow
clap.
I mean? Yeah.
So this is a very, very thankless job, and my proudest moment that caught me off guard the most is I, did my job, had a very smooth drop, very smooth entry, and it was. It was it was a really cool drop. And I was super proud of the route and super proud of like all this stuff. And anybody who knows anything about this knows that can change within 2 hours of your drop.
You could literally go out with your client tomorrow and it could be over. You can mess up before we get home.
100%. Like you can get there and go and like you could swing around to the back of a building or something and
there could be
I don't want to be here. And everything you thought you had was destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything you spent hours and hours putting in place is over at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And so when you have something that from start to middle to finish goes off without a hitch.
Symphony.
Well, it's not only is it rare, but you're sitting there once the drop is made and the client's sitting there in their seat, you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Yes.
Everything went off without a hitch. But one of my proudest moments would be when my client, and who is very, very self-aware and is a very, very aware person, we got in, did the drop, pushed them through, and they whipped around and looked at me and goes, "You are a logistical ninja."
Yes. Can you just say that again into this recorder? Can you just write that down? Can you put that on a Christmas card? Like we record you saying that to me because we didn't record it. It didn't happen. Like you just.
Yeah. The thing is that like they at this point they recognize me as the person who is always on the ground that's receiving them, and that's because I love advancing. I love setting that up, and I love having that very chaotic environment of controlling the next 7 doors and controlling the next, like all of these people to make sure everything is as smooth as possible, maintaining that networking ability and being, very good conversationally with the people that are there on the ground. And I take such pride in doing that. And so to have my client not only recognize it, but to say like, you're a logistical ninja, I was like,
that's awesome. Yeah, right.
And some of the team was there.
New tattoo, logistical ninja.
Call sign, logistic ninja.
Right. Just call me LJ, whatever.
No big deal. Kind of a big deal, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember like some of the team was around, and I remember looking at him after the client walked out. I was like,
of course, no one heard it. Probably.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
And one of the guys on the team goes, "Don't let that shit go to your head." And I was just like,
of course.
Wait, it's a little bit already
it's there. Yeah, you're right. I'm just going to wear it today. Just
for the rest of the day, the next several hours, please. But I went back and I went home and, I was talking to my boyfriend about it and I was just like, oh, he said it. Oh my God. And I was losing my mind because it's such a thankless job and it's such an unrecognized job. And most people will never see it. They will never see the hours that spend going into that, the phone calls that have been made going into that, into every last step that has been planned for, accounted for, safety provisions that have been put in place, put in check.
Yeah.
How much control over a situation that you have to have. So to have that and for him to recognize it and for him to say it, that was like my equivalent of like a very cool thank you. So I'll never forget it. That is my proudest moment.
That's awesome. It's amazing how clients can do that. You get this weird relationship with them sometimes. It's like, I don't know how to, I mean, it's professional, but then sometimes it can turn into this, like, because you want validation from them, but you don't want validation from them, but like, you like kind of need it. They send you paychecks, and then it's like, but you can't expect it because like you're not supposed to really like, it's thankless 99% of the time. You know, there's some amazing clients, you know.
Well, and the thing is,
even
that
if you do
at the end of the day, when it comes to these clients, you're in their life. You are their constant. You are their constant. You're there for the ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulations, every phone call that's made in the back of a car. So there's
the divorces, the audits,
well, the stuff where they finally look at you and go, I don't want to go see this person. Can you deal with this? And you have to be that person in their life. And it comes to a point where it is not supposed to be personal, but you know them better than anybody else.
Like, you know them better than their various family members. After a while.
I've had that happen several times. Where the kids will look at us, the kids will come back to us and go, well, do you know what mom and dad are doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're keeping their secrets from their parents. It puts you in a very precarious situation.
That's a whole other,
where you're sitting there hitting lock on the windows. Shut up, sit down.
That kid parent EP is like a whole other podcast.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right. Are there any like big? I'll tell you one of my proudest moments. It's kind of like yours. I had a client. She's a little girl, a younger girl, and I forget. Like, we were just, I was just working, we were doing whatever, and she's like, who you remind me of? I'm like, who? She's like, you remind me of Denzel Washington from Man on Fire. I was like, oh! I was like, come on! I was like, can we record that just one more time, real quick? Say
you're
that.
You're like Man on Fire. I can do that thing where I pull my pistol out and I catch a bullet.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was like, come on! I was like, this is awesome. This is amazing. No one's ever gonna believe me, but it happened.
This is real life.
But right. Are there any like big mistakes female agents can make, like kiss of death things, when you've seen contracts, like if you have another female agent around you and she's not succeeding, are there any specific things that you think that chicks in this game should watch out for?
Don't get too big for your britches.
Thank you for saying that.
It is because it goes back to when we were talking about it. Like, you become a person that nobody else wants to work with. Nobody wants to deal with you. You're calling out too many problems, and you're not stepping correct and coming with solutions. You're just causing problems at that point.
Like, you have something to prove.
Yeah, when it's too much of like, just humble up and be a person. Like, stop trying to play the role of super duper badass female. Like, you're trying to wear that. Like, I am woman and I am all, call me Wonder Woman on my call sign. Like, nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah, no
one wants to deal with it. Take a back seat, Nancy. Nobody cares. Right. So I think that the biggest thing that I see when it comes to females is the competition has gotten to their head, and they feel the need to compete with like other women that are on their contract. I've worked with other females in the industry, and in working with them, like, it becomes so much of an interpersonal competition that it creates an inability to work successfully as a team, and we lose fluidity. And then it becomes an us versus them, because they're so concentrated on like, these people are on my side, and forget what you think. And you're like, okay, but how does that help the client? How does that help our fluidity? How does that push any type of mission completion? It doesn't. And I think that, don't become too big for your britches, and, understand what your position is, understand where you fit best and where you fit with your team, because it's not all about you, and it can't be all about you. It has to be all about the team. and what is best for the team. Because again, those are the people that are going to always be there with you. Those are the people you're working with 12 hours a day, who know you better than a lot of your own family members know you. You know their families. Like it'll become your family, and you can't continue to fight with your family like that. You know?
Heck no. House divided against itself will fall.
100%. And that's like my biggest issue, is just the over complication and of very simplistic situations. Like A plus B equals C. A plus B doesn't have to equal R, Q, and F. Like nobody cares about that. Just A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
Not A plus B is fish.
Maybe she gets it, guys. Maybe she gets it. That's okay.
I found the working formula.
You're right. The overcomplication of situations. Yeah.
Very
so
simplistic.
It's so good. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Leonardo da Vinci was not an idiot. Are there any specific jobs, like in the spectrum of what we do, like your close protection guy, your advance agent, that you think women are better suited for than other jobs, or like certain things that you're like, yo, this is like easier because I'm a chick? Just is.
You know, it's funny you asked that, and that's a very, very good question, because I genuinely don't. I say that because it's the person that you bring to the table.
Okay.
And it all depends. Yeah, break it down, Chuck and Sal. So what I think, I don't think that there is any one job that could be done significantly better or significantly easier, or that this section is better suited for women and this section is better suited for men. I genuinely don't feel like that, because I think who can do the job? Who's capable of doing the job? If you can do the job and this is what you're good at, then do that. Just do what you're good at. Get it done. And I say that because not every woman, like for me, advancing is my pride and joy. Not everybody's going to be good at advancing. Not every woman is going to be good at problem solving or logistics. Some women are going to be wonderful drivers. Some women are going to be, wonderful, like logistic planners from an office. Some women are going to be much better suited right on the ground. It all depends on what are you really good at, and what do you take pride in doing, because the things that you take pride in are going to be the things that you excel in.
That you're going to shine at.
Yeah. Some guys are not good at advancing, where I'm very good at advancing, and vice versa. It all depends on the person that you are coming to the table with, as opposed to left and right lateral limits of what
some binary
your
thing.
role is. Yeah.
I like this answer. I like it. That's what's up. How do you feel about like the future of private security for females? Because we say it's a masculine dominated industry. It is.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's always going to be.
Yeah.
It's always going to be based on just the sheer numbers.
Right.
Like let's break it down. It's a ratio of what? 3 guys to 1 chick? 3 to 1? 4 to 1? 5 to 1? Like, just in common sense world, it's always going to be a masculine dominated industry. But I think the future, since it's growing so astronomically, and the levels of EP are also growing within that. And
there's so much private security opportunity, like the spectrum of compartments and jobs and specific skills and things necessary is just multiplying.
Not only that, but the schools and the level of education, and just the basic understanding of what it is. On that note, I'm going to say that there's a difference between EP and PSD. People need to understand that those are two different things.
And club security and venue security and
bodyguards, EP. What your yellow shirt security is, like
you're not EP because you helped such and such get his bottle service on Friday night when he came to your club. All right, you're still with the house. Don't put that on your resume and let me catch you in the interview. You know what I'm saying? Tell me exactly what you did. Show me you have some honor, and then we can talk about getting you in the big game.
Oh yeah, and I think as far as the growth of the industry, I think there are going to be more females that are going to be stepping into that role. But I think it also comes down to practicality. What are you going to be good at? Don't just jump in the industry because you want to be a female that's in the industry. Like, do it because it's okay. So I think the best way that I've heard it, the way that I've best heard a lot of this described is, when it comes to people who want to be a Navy SEAL, who want to be in special forces. Are you doing it because you want to be an ex-special forces guy, or are you doing it because you want to be special forces? Like, what is your end game in this? So I wouldn't say jump into this industry because you want to be a former EP, former private security, former something or other. Do it because you enjoy the process of the job and you enjoy the journey of the job. And that's what's going to give you longevity and make you successful here. But I think that as far as the growth of the industry, know what you're good at. Know what you're good at, know where you're going to line up, and know what you're going to be willing to offer to the people here.
That's big.
Yeah.
Not what you're going to take, what you're going to contribute. That's how you really shine, because that's what all your street cred, your work product, your legend is going to be around what you contributed to the game.
Absolutely. In the sacrifices that you're willing to make to provide a better product and to provide a better package to your clientele and give simplicity and ease of process for your team. And again, that goes back to advancing for me, like what's going to be the most fluid, simplistic process for my team, because I want the product that I want to create is where they can see me and I can see them, and they know that as soon as we drop, I just need to find you and you will take care of everything, and we can concentrate on our 360. The client knows that they're going to follow you through everything. You take them through it. We'll be there as a 360, and they don't have to continue to think about like, what if she messes this up? What if this is screwed up? What is this going to be? And know what you're going to bring to the table. Know what fluidity that you're going to bring. Know what ease you're going to bring. What level of professionalism that you're going to bring, and what you're capable of. And that's what's going to, push you far.
Heck yeah. And you can have confidence and peace in knowing, hey, this is the piece of the puzzle that I contribute. This is the piece of the puzzle everyone can count on me to hold my shield up and maintain and then be that strong link in the chain with. And that gives you, then you have a sense of community, you have a sense of belonging, and then you'll see respect in the eyes of, the other teammates.
Yeah. And I think that it's important that you never become so arrogant that you think that the machine is going to break if you step out.
Oh,
Don't ever be
that's
so
a huge one that I hear people, what are they going to do without me? I'm like,
they're going to keep going. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, they'll interview a dozen yous, they'll pick one, and until they hire him, we'll just keep on going. That's what
they're going to, because guaranteed, like, always consider yourself number 2 trying to fight for the number 1 spot. Because there's always at least 10 people that are going to be sitting there itching and biting chomping at the bit to get to exactly where you're at.
Spamming your employers with resumes.
If you think that you are irreplaceable, you are sorely mistaken. The machine will continue to run without you. So you are never so good that you are irreplaceable.
No.
That's why it's so important to continue to evolve, continue to bring new things.
To earn it.
Continue to be a helpful and wanted asset, rather than annoying asset.
Or a self-righteous, entitled, I guess we'll just say asset. Right? No, I dig it, man. It's exactly what it is. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Let's see here. Do you know of any good... We only have a few more questions, but this is like, I don't even know if this is a good question. I'm still going to ask it. Like, are there any good places to find good female EP agents, like specifically, or do we just refer everyone to you, Rachel? Start a bidding war around Rachel.
Yeah, what's a bid? It's funny you say that, because
do you guys have like an underground or something?
No, we don't. I wish we did.
Start one. One.
You know what? I probably should.
I'll do it if you don't do it. I can't do it. I'm a dude. My wife would be like, seriously, Byron? I'm like, what?
Get out.
Right? No, so
honestly, I wish that there was more of an underground network, but I feel like because of interpersonal competition that
Mean Girls.
With other EP girls, I almost feel like when it comes to the competitive network of it, that it's been a little bit more distant. But not only that, I feel like a lot of it's hard to find other women, because for us, it's such a new thing that you don't know what you don't know. Like, how do we put a title on exactly what it is we're good at? Where I feel fortunate that I've been in a position where I know where I stand and I can put a title and a stamp on what I do as an EP agent. Advancing is really my specialty. You know, like I've been able to put a tab next to what I do. And I feel like for a lot of women coming up that it's almost like they, you know, am I an EP agent? Am I a bodyguard? Am I security? Am I this? Am I that? What am I doing? And it's hard to, where do I go to connect? That's what I'm getting at. Where do I go to connect? And that's what makes it hard, is because there's not really a formulated 100% guaranteed spot. Because even for me, when I was coming up and I was looking at like female EP companies, and where can I go as a woman to begin networking? There are women dominated companies, but even within that, it's almost like you got to know who's the what and the who to get into this. And I don't feel like there's just kind of a blanket overall spot that is 100% known that, you know, don't care. You don't have to be a part of this group. You don't have to be a part of that. You don't have to be former agency and we only take agency people and we only take this breed of person. And, you know, it's anybody who wants to put the work in, who's willing to do the groundwork. This is a known spot to go to and to network. And I just don't feel like that's out there.
Okay. Noted. We'll do something about it. Figure that out.
I was going to say, like,
solve that equation. Yeah, that sounds like something that needs solving.
Because I also feel like that's why some of the baseline professionalism among women hasn't changed. Is because there's not one spot of reference. All of the points of reference have been, you know, so very male dominated that there's not really a female source that's saying
like
this
centralized.
Is this is our baseline. Here's what it is for the guys. Here's what it is for the women. Your appearance is going to look like this for a man. It doesn't mean that you're going to be in a 3-piece suit for a woman. You know, what is the baseline is going to be different. But I don't think that there's that one spot that's saying like, this is our new standard, get with it or get out of F-town.
Or you're not up to standard. Yeah, cool. Yeah. I think that spot is that planet at the beginning of the Wonder Woman movie. That's the spot.
I would be there.
Right? No, that was loud.
No, you know what we'll do? We'll start it in your group, the executive protection group. We're going to start it there.
I'm sitting here playing with the idea in my head right now, actually. I'm like, geez.
Let's do that. From here on out, anybody who's listening. Because I know I'm a part of that group. So
yes.
Let's do that.
Have like a female chapter.
Yeah, no, we'll do like a thing, like a once a week thing, like a once a week blog or something like that.
Some content for the ladies.
I have got blogs for days. If you knew how many stuff I have ghost written for so many pages, really? I have ghost written a lot of things that are currently floating out there. So I've got a bunch of saved stuff that I would love to. I'll start doing a once a week thing on your page. I'll just
let's talk. Heck yeah, let's talk more about that for sure. Executive protection lifestyle is expanding into like a whole. I'm gonna get into like digital products. I'm gonna want to have private security leaders, you know, teaching. Like this thing is like the podcast is just the beginning. So you know, just like a sneak peek for everyone else. Like. Yeah. I'm seeing this whole thing turn into like a place where agents can come and get educated on like what it really takes to be a good agent, what it really takes, you know, to be more than just a bodyguard, to be an executive protection agent. Yeah. How do you get from the door of your club into maybe a good private security gig? And then also, how do you execute that when your client looks at you and is like, I'm going to be landing on my jet, you know, in LA, you know, and you have 2 or 3 venues. How do you even execute it, you know?
Well, and doing, you know, all the little things that we've all learned, that we've had to learn within this industry, like having a 2-hour bag that's there. Yeah. What does it mean to have things that are safe to go through, you know, metal detectors? What is, you know, what is your med kit? What should it actually look like? What is a necessity that you don't have to have, you know, running around with ankle rigs that are too bulky to fit in your jeans? Like, what is the practicality of the situation? Here are the elements that all of us have collectively learned. And then, you know, we'll just sit there and just token that out, because that's where our new baseline needs to be. That's where the new standard is, because the new standard is somebody who looks very casual. It's very casual
It
and it's
really
very
is.
business casual. It is no longer the suits. It's no longer that
Those
same
80s.
earpieces because the other big part is we have adapted with technology. And we need to start looking at how much of an advantage we have when it comes to technology. And what is, gray areas, there are little, tracking devices that you put in a little key lockbox. You slap that right under their tire wheel and you don't have to worry about it. You're always there. You're always one step away, one call away, but you know exactly where their placement is and you know how far you need to be in accordance with that. And how are we going to apply technology to that? And you don't have to have a wired in whole big deal anymore because that's not kosher. That does not look good. It doesn't look good on you. And it's dated.
Well, it skylines the client, it skylines the operation. TMZ is going to be crawling all over your face in 10 minutes. Like we're just smarter these days, Yeah.
So, well, how do you apply counter surveillance measures with your client? If you have a client if you're somebody who knows surveillance, if you're somebody who knows counter surveillance, if you're somebody who knows counter to the counter surveillance, like if you're one of those people, how are you able to educate your client on something like that and say, hey, maybe you put on a wig. Hey, if you're somebody with tattoos, maybe you put a makeup on it. If you want to go spend the day with no TMZ and no whatever it is, how do you provide them the knowledge that could give them a very leisurely day? And a lot of that comes from knowing what to look for. How do you know what to look for? What can you provide? What's a good dossier that you can give to your client that keeps them in a simple state of mind? What do you do when you have a client who doesn't want security, who doesn't want perimeter security around their house, but too bad because insurance dictates you need to,
right.
That's
something you're going to run into in this game for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do about it? The industry's changed. It's no longer
evolving.
A blanket answer.
Yeah, and it's no longer suits in Beverly Hills. Oh man, I got stories. But let's see here.
Don't we all?
You're right. Daily rituals, things that you do on a regular basis, doesn't have to be daily, that you think make you a better person or that make you better at your job.
Ooh, well, obviously being in shape. That's
heck yeah.
Big thing. Big thing for me because it's also, it's therapeutic in a sense. Like when I'm eating good, I feel good. When I work out and I get my solid reps in and my big weight in, I feel good. And
weight. That's what's up.
Weights. But there's a level of confidence and personal ability that it brings. Like, if that's, you know how to fight, you know how to wrestle. If you maintain your levels of training. Yeah. And you also feel a little bit more humble and confident in your ability and, who you are and what you are in your levels of training. You can fall back on that confidence and be good with that. So part of what my SOP in my daily operation would be, wake up. I have my, something that is going to help fuel me and feed me through the day, have a good meal, make sure that you pack some extra meals because there's no telling when you're going to eat again.
You never know. You don't know.
That is a whole nother topic
that's
in itself.
An episode. Yeah.
That is a topic within itself is
how much
what are you going to pack? You got to have your own little baggie of something or others in the back that is going to fuel you through through your fight. So part of that is, training 100%. I'm a person who is all about training and being confident in it and pushing the limits within training. If that means that I'm going to be putting on my pumps and going and training in my pumps that day, I don't give a damn how ridiculous it looks. But if that's something I'm going to wear around the client, that is something I'm going to be proficient in 100%. But outside of that, when it comes to stepping up to the table with a team, there's an SOP that's set forth so that everybody's on the same page. Turnover is smooth. Turnover is correct. We all understand the same, level of expectation that is there. Security perimeter checks are done. Clientele checks are done. Comm checks are done. There's a certain level of that standardization that is there that has to be done when you're working within that respect. Vehicles are filled up. Everything is washed. Things are taken care of. So that's kind of where my routine is.
It's around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Around that stuff. Good to go.
Yeah.
And I love these. The physical fitness thing's huge. You
It's so
feel
huge.
different in your body
Oh,
for
yeah.
the other tasks you need to do that day.
Yeah.
Like it's just empowering as heck.
Yeah. Being open to, other forms of the process, learning from other people and being open to learning that, like, never get so close-minded and, your poop don't stink that you're not capable of absorbing any more information. No, always be open to it. Always take the meeting. Always be humble in your communication, even if you may feel a certain way back here about it. Like, just, sit there,
find out,
be open, be receptive towards it, and then be able to successfully articulate your own point of view and your own perspective in it. So
100% without any need for emotions.
Yeah. This is a very emotionless gig. Do not bring your emotions into this game.
No. Yeah.
I mean, we have a joke on our side, like, it's about to get emotional.
Oh, yeah. I'm so using that. Oh, gosh, I laughed out loud. I'm so going to use that. Are we doing this? Is it getting emotional?
Yeah, are we getting emotional?
Right, we're not going to do that right now. God.
Yeah. Don't try to do a little poopy pants about it.
Yeah,
don't get emotional.
Oh, don't do it to me. What would you say? Well, closing quote, mantra, favorite saying.
Dun,
dun, dun. Yeah. All quotes go out of your mind.
100%. I was like, oh God.
Like, I say this every morning. I can't remember anything. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I've been on point this whole time with really good gems, but now I'm like,
right. It'll come back. Something will come to you.
Yeah. It'll definitely come back. I don't know. I think don't get emotional is probably one of the best ones.
That's so going to be the name of this episode. Don't get emotional. Oh, yeah, it's so good.
Check your emotions at the door.
Yeah. What are you doing these days? Where can we find you?
You could always find me on the gram. Hashtag do it for the gram.
Okay, awesome.
No, you can always find me on Instagram. I Instagram more than I Facebook, but it sounds like that's going to be changing soon because you're probably going to find me in the executive protection lifestyle.
Popping off.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
Yeah. I'll definitely be pushing some stuff out there. You'll find me on Facebook. Everything that I do, I go by the handle Rachel J. Okay. That's just OPSEC. The people who know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always go by Rachel J.
Those who know. Those who know don't say. Those who don't know say. I'm saying.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But you can find me on Instagram at Rachel J _JAAY, and then on Facebook, I'm in the executive protection lifestyle group right now, and that's under Rachel J. Also, those awesome. Are my two social medias.
Okay.
And, if you want to send me an email for any reason, it's rachel@opalfirellc.com. If you're not one of those people, you just scam podcasts.
Yes, seriously. We will find you if you are.
Yeah. I don't know. I always thought I could keep my OPSEC tight right up until those white hat guys pop around.
Right? Like, no, they're like child's play. Play. What about, are you on LinkedIn or any of that stuff?
I am on LinkedIn. I actually need to revisit my LinkedIn profile, but that'll probably be under my full name. It's Rachel Rugato. I'll start that one back up.
Right. Yeah, no worries. No, it's funny because when you're working, you don't think I have a tendency not to even think about LinkedIn when I'm working. I just this last year started being like, hey, dude, you're all over social media. People are like looking you up. Like, maybe you should upgrade your LinkedIn. My LinkedIn was like 5 years behind. I know
my LinkedIn is probably like
6 months ago.
Years behind.
Right.
Well, it's so funny because a lot of the stuff that I've ghostwritten has been pushed across LinkedIn. So I know consciously that I need to be more active on it. But again, when you're working in the vast level of social media platforms they're the ones that are more active, and then they're the ones that are more professional. So
background.
Yeah. It's just not one of those ones that are as easily or as frequently active,
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny. They say that like Instagram and Facebook are like, they're like the playground, and
Yeah.
LinkedIn is like the country club. There's like
Yeah.
less activity. It's more high end. It's like, but
I don't know. I've got some weird, not high end messages on there. Where I'm like, ooh,
like, wow, you look really professional.
that was bold.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Is there an HR rep on
Yeah.
LinkedIn? Like,
And
that's
block.
funny. Seriously. Well,
All professionalism. Okay.
yeah.
Other versions will be blocked. Actually, no. A screenshot will be taken and you will be blasted around, and then blocked subsequently.
And then blocked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. No, that's what's up. So, girl, it's been good. It's been fantastic spending this time with you and getting this thing dialed in.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining me. That's good stuff.
Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to doing all the stuff on executive protection lifestyle and turning that into that new baseline platform.
Okay. We'll talk.
Yeah,
I got some ideas for that too. We'll talk more offline for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But awesome. Good to have you. Thanks for hanging, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who's listening.
Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place by teaching people how to protect themselves and the mindset behind that, the lifestyle behind that. You guys are already killing it. $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can do that you would probably just lose in the mattress anyway or spend on McDonald's. Hey, you want to put it towards something that's going to good use, put it towards a podcast, and get involved in our Patreon account at executiveprotectionlifestyle.com. And if you want to find me, that's ByronRodgersMotivation.com. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can to that Patreon account, because it makes all of these things possible, ladies and gentlemen. So much love. Thank you, and thank you for making those contributions. You guys rock. We're already doing amazing there, and it's just because of you guys. So thanks once again for those contributions. Boom. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. This whole entire thing actually just started off as a Facebook group that blew up and is one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, executive protection Facebook group online. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, join the Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram and check us out at executiveprotectionlifestyle.com. If you want to find me, that's ByronRodgersMotivation.com, and I'm on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. So until the next podcast, y'all, stay sharp out there. And as I say it, one mind, many weapons. Talk soon. Out.